Hi esteemed logicians. Welcome to the Logical Christ channel. In this video, we will examine the next level of Islamic dilemma. We will logically examine the Islamic dilemma pertaining to the followers of Jesus or the people of the book. Sit back and relax. We will be back after this short intro. The thesis. In Quran 3:55, it states, "When Allah said, 'O Jesus, indeed I will take you and raise you to myself and purify you from those who disbelieve and make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve until the day of resurrection. Then to me is your return, and I will judge between you concerning that in which you used to differ.'" It is clearly stated that the followers of Jesus will be superior until the day of resurrection. But Islamic scholars are teaching that the followers of Jesus were Muslims. Here's Dr. Zakir Naik making this anti-historical claim.
Allah says in Surah Imran chapter 3 verse 54, Makaru makarallah wallahu khairul makirin. Verse before that, the helpers of Jesus. And Jesus said, I am Muslim. So the true believers of Jesus, the Quran says are Muslim.
But historically, the world knew that the followers of Jesus were called Christians, even the Quran attested to this fact. Here's a clip where the historical evidence of the first location where Christians were first recognized is presented.
This awesome site is known as the Church of St. Peter, or St. Peter's Cave. This huge grotto, carved right into the ancient Mount Stereos, is the traditional location for where early followers of Jesus were first called Christians. Now, we don't know for sure whether or not this is the actual church established by Peter, Paul, and the others, but scholars do agree that this is the site for one of the earliest Christian churches in the world. Now, the facade, or the exterior that we saw out front, was built by the Crusaders starting in 1098 when they captured Antioch. But when you come inside, we experience an interior that might go back to the early church here in ancient Antioch. There are a number of winding corridors and catacombs, important for hiding early Christian worshipers in the event of a raid or an attack. The church also has a number of Byzantine period remnants, such as these mosaic fragments on the floor and a partial fresco that you can see behind me on the wall. By the 3rd century AD, Antioch would be booming with 10 different Christian congregations. In fact, Antioch would become home to one of the 5 leaders or patriarchs of the entire Christian church, the others being in Jerusalem, Alexandria, Constantinople, and Rome. According to the church historian Eusebius, Ignatius of Antioch was the patriarch here in the late 1st century. Ignatius was the 3rd leader of the church in Antioch and likely a student of John from the Gospels. So history tells us that the city of Antioch was a huge player in early Christian history. The 1st century church at Antioch had a true international flavor. Its leaders hailed from lands all over the Eastern Mediterranean. In about 45 AD, these church leaders came together for some strategic planning. According to Acts chapter 13, it was time for a bold missionary journey to deliver the gospel deep into the Roman world. In the end, the church chose 3 men, Paul, Barnabas, and John Mark, to carry out the mission. After a period of prayer and fasting, the church leaders sent out this 3-man team by ship. The first stop on the first missionary journey was the island of Cyprus.
The assertion. The Islamic dilemma here is based on Quran 3:55. Allah promised that the followers of Jesus, beginning in the 1st century AD until the final day, will be superior, affirming the messages they had preached, thus making Islam false since the messages of the Christians contradicted Islam. Nonetheless, Islam claimed that Muslims will be superior until the end of time, not the Christians, contradicting Allah in Quran 3:55, which makes Islam also false. The argumentation. In the context of Quran 581 to 83, the people of the book refer to the Jews and Christians. Here's Dr. Shabar Ali and other scholars confirming who the people of the book are.
Brother Shabir, what does the Quran refer to when it says people of the book? Who is it referring to?
It's referring to people who have received the previous scriptural revelation. Commentators on the Quran have identified these primarily as being Jews and Christians because of the Old and the New Testament containing divine revelations which have come from God.
Examining Quran 355, we can conclude that Allah was talking to Jesus before or during Jesus' lifetime in the 1st century. Even in Quran 61:14, Allah supported the Christians, making them dominant. We can also affirm that historically, the dominant religious people in the world were Christians. It states, "O you who have believed, be supporters of Allah," as when Jesus, the son of Mary, said to the disciples, "Who are my supporters for Allah?" The disciples said, "We are supporters of Allah." And a faction of the children of Israel believed and a faction disbelieved. So we supported those who believed against their enemy, and they became dominant. According to Ibn Ishaq's Sirat Rasul Allah, page 653, the English translation by Alfred Guillaume, titled The Life of Muhammad, we can see that the disciples of Jesus include Peter, Paul, John, James, and others. These disciples were known in the history books as those who spread Christianity. Even in Ibn Ishaq's Sirat Rasul Allah, page 103 to 104, it states that John the Apostle wrote the Gospel and then quotes John 15. This clearly shows that the Christians were not Muslims, as the Muslim community claimed. Ibn Kathir's tafsir on Quran 36:14 states that the two messengers that were sent by Allah were Simon Peter and John the disciple of Jesus. This illustrates that Allah supported the Christians in the 1st century AD. The History of Tabari, Volume 4, page 123 states, "Among the apostles and the followers who came after them were the apostle Peter and Paul, who was a follower and not an apostle. They went to Rome." This implies that Peter and Paul were among the Christians at that time, and we have their writings today that are highly contradictory to Islam. The conclusion: after our examinations from various Islamic texts and even the early history of Christianity, it is affirmed, based on Quran 355, that Allah backed the followers of Jesus, thus making Islam false since the messages of Christianity were contradictory to Islam. Eventually, the Muslim community contradicts Quran 355, saying that Muslims will be superior, making Islam also false by falsifying its own Quran. Here is Sam Shamoun elaborating on this Islamic dilemma.
I'll show it to you. Go to 355 of the Quran.
Mentioned when God said, "Oh Jesus, indeed I will take and raise you to myself and purify you from those who disbelieve and make you those who follow you in submission to God alone, superior to those who disbelieve in the day of resurrection. Then to me is your return, and I will judge between you concerning that in which you used to differ."
Okay, what will happen to Jesus' followers?
Superior to those who disbelieve. So basically, make you superior to those who
Okay,
disbelieve.
so Jesus' followers will be what?
Superior to those who disbelieve
Till when?
until the day of resurrection.
Now go to chapter 61, verse 14. See if Allah kept his word to Isa ibn Maryam.
All you who have believed, be supporters of God, as when Jesus, the son of Mary, said to the disciples, "Who are my supporters of God?" The disciple said, "We are supporters of God." And a faction of the children of Israel believed, and a faction disbelieved. So we supported those who disbelieved against the enemy, and they became dominant.
Okay, now according to these two verses, Jesus' true followers were empowered by Allah to be victorious and vanquish their enemies. And how long would they be victorious? Till when?
To the day of judgment.
Okay, thank you. Now, according to Qurtubi, in his tafsir of 61:14, he mentions some of the disciples whom Allah empowered to defeat the unbelievers and spread Jesus' message victoriously. Do you know who one of them happens to be?
Who?
Paul, the one that you said you're not going to read. So thank you for bearing Muhammad. Do you have Qurtubi, by the way? Can you read him on Arabic?
No, I don't have Qurtubi with me, but I'll tell you something. Like when you say about Paul got things like it was not like part of the Bible. He sadly writing.
You're not listening. If he's not part of the Bible, if he's not part of the Bible, you just buried your prophet, because according to your Quran, Allah empowered the true believers to be victorious and win. So if Paul is not, is Peter mentioned in the Quran? Is John mentioned in the Quran? You see how stupid you are? Is Abu Bakr mentioned in the Quran? Is Umar mentioned in the Quran? Is Aisha mentioned in the Quran? Is Eve mentioned in the Quran? You sure you want to use that stupid argument? You're going to embarrass yourself. Listen to my argument. Listen to my argument. If these verses are true, that means Allah empowered the true believers to overcome the unbelievers, and they would be victorious to the day of resurrection. So now tell me the names of those true believers. Give me the names from the Quran.
The believers are the one who believed in him when the
Give
Bible
me
was
their
not
names of the believers that Allah made victorious. Because you play that stupid game. Well, does the Quran mention the Paul? Show me any of the disciples mentioned by name in your Quran.
It does not mention the names of the disciples.
So then how do you know who they were? How do you know who they were?
It's not written in the Quran.
How then am I going to know whether the Quran is giving me accurate history in the past? What do I turn to find out?
It's not obligatory whether you believe in it. You have your freedom to believe what you believe.
Dude, my goodness, you ended up believing in it for a reason, right? So you just believed it without any historical evidence? That's how blind you are?
No, because I was reading a few things like the epistle of Barnabas. Or the
good. You just said it. So you went outside of the Quran to historical inference. That's the point. You had to go to sources outside of the Quran, closer to the time of Jesus, that showed who these people were. So who are these followers of Jesus that were victorious?
I hope you learned from this video. Comment down below for your rebuttal on this logical examination of a next-level Islamic dilemma. Until next time.
Thinking with Logical Christ.